Hello and welcome to the long-awaited sequel to Minimum Upgrades. This time, I will be tackling the second game in the prototype series, but there's a little twist. Instead of beating the game with minimum upgrades, I will be beating it with no upgrades. Mostly. Now it's time for me to explain how the challenge will work. So the first game operates on a point system where you earn XP in the form of EP and then spend the points on whatever upgrades you want. The second one, however, has a leveling system. By progressing through the game, you gain different amounts of EP, and once you reach a certain threshold, you level up and get an upgrade point. The run would normally die here, as in the vanilla game you mandatorily have to spend every upgrade point you get. This is where the PC version comes into play, as there is a debug menu mod that lets you give yourself EP. By default, it's set to 5,000, but for this video, I turned it into negative 50,000, so I would lose EP, thus constantly preventing me from leveling up. Now with one of the 5 upgrade sections taken care of, it is time to move on to the other 4. These are much easier to handle because the debug menu also has options to lock all of those abilities. Also, just in case you forgot, an upgrade is anything found in the upgrades menu. Now on to how the counter is going to work. I will have a mandatory upgrade counter that increments whenever I have to use an upgrade to continue the story. For example, if I have to use the claws, then the counter increments for each encounter I use them in, but if it's something like the bio bomb, then it's every time the move is used because it's not equipable like powers. I also implemented a sort of soft requirement, which is that I have to minimize the power usage in each encounter as much as I can. I would have made the counter work based on the number of attacks done, so it would flesh better with other powers like Pack Leader, but you'll see why that wouldn't work. With the intro finally out of the way, it is now time to get into the run. The first mission, Meet Your Maker, has special circumstances much like in the first game. In this case, however, rather than being at full power, you're at no power. This mission is before James gets infected, so nothing of note happens. Ressurection is yet another tutorial mission. This mission introduces the basic combat mechanics, healing, and throwing. I'll bring this up now to clear up any possible confusion that could occur in the future. All of these abilities are mentioned in the upgrades menu, but they cannot be found there. Only their augmentations. The augmentations count as upgrades, but the default versions do not, so they are safe to use. The Strong Survive is a mission where you hunt down 2 commanders. The first is simple, go to the hospital and consume him. The second one is slightly more complicated, but not difficult. I went to the bridge and consumed him as well, but then helicopters started chasing me. They were rather easy to evade as this mission is still in the tutorial section of the game. Operation Flytrap is the first challenge and where the rules finally start coming into play. The mission acts as the introduction of the Brawlers and Claws ability. The first Brawler went down easily because this game's dodge mechanics are superior to the first game's. Afterward, we hit a slight snag. You see, while recording, I didn't have the current rules in mind, and it wasn't until after this mission that I fully developed them. As a result, the next Brawler dies to my Claws along with multiple Blackwash soldiers. At the end of the mission, I finally realized what I had done and that there were also some potential abilities I didn't account for. These were the Radnet mutations. They didn't matter for the previous missions, but they do for this one. Most of the mutations aren't applicable in this mission except for one, Ravenous. It lets me consume an enemy at higher health than normal. I retried the mission and disabled the Radnet mutations and incentives, which were other upgrades I had on. The second time, I only used my claws once, meaning the secondary requirement was followed. Even with only having to use the claws once, I tried to find a way to avoid using the claw pounds. I experimented, but got nowhere, meaning I was stuck with the one usage. Next up isn't a story mission, but a Blacknet mission, and at the beginning of it, I locked my claws away, making me have no upgrades once more. This mission is a stealth mission where you stealth consume people and find out you can't use a computer. At the end of the mission, you are awarded a mutation, which I quickly disable. Finishing the mission also gave me back my claws, but I quickly locked them again. Every time you finish a mission, you are given back your powers, but as long as they aren't used, the counter will not go up. I'm saying this because sometimes I was too lazy to relock my powers. Brain Drain has you consume 4 scientists. A funny interaction happens here since I don't have my powers, which is that James just stands there. After consuming the scientists, you're tasked with destroying a tank to consume a 5th scientist. After one death, I was able to successfully consume Dr. Shaffeld. Now on to Project Long Shadow. This mission has James fight and consume a Hydra. Although I managed to get a Hydra down to a sliver of health, I got greedy and died on my first attempt. In the second one, I was much more careful and killed the Hydra. The cutscene that followed looked goofy because, yet again, I was supposed to have my claws when I didn't have them. After getting the tendrils, I killed the Blackwatch soldiers with melee. I then, sadly, had to use the Black Hole attack for the tutorial. The following mission, Feeding Time, introduces yet another power. It has James kill a few soldiers and then consume a commander to enter a base where he fights a Juggernaut. After consuming the Juggernaut, I got to shield, and had to use it to deflect the missile shot at me. Much like with the previous 2 usages, this one can't be avoided. Next up is the Lab Rat, where I'm supposed to consume a scientist. After destroying a helicopter, I had to destroy an APC convoy. I found a way to cheese this section, which was to go on top of the tanks and stomp them. Being on top of them meant that the biggest threat, which was the tank itself, couldn't hit me. Once all 3 APCs were destroyed, I consumed Bellamy. Moving on, we have Salvation. This mission tasks you with protecting the church from Blackwatch who is attacking it. This is also the same mission where the ability to weaponize is introduced. Weaponizing isn't in the upgrades menu, so it's not an upgrade. I still, however, didn't want to use the ability and only used it to rip guns off of tanks to make them less of a threat. The first wave was quickly taken care of due to some of the Blackwatch soldiers having missile launchers that I could use. The second wave was a lot tenser than it should have been. I focused too much on finding cars to throw at vehicles that I took unnecessary damage. After taking more damage and nearly dying, I pulled through and finished the mission. The Mad Scientist is the start of the Kerning arc. A quick talk with Kerning leads me to the Project Orion depot, where I destroyed the communication systems. Then came the good part, fighting the Orion soldiers. Sadly, at the very beginning of the encounter, I used my shield. The rest of it went really well though. I also learned that the Orion soldiers can deflect rockets, which is really cool. Even though they were stronger than I remembered, I still beat the 3 Orion soldiers with relative ease. This next mission is even better than the last one. Phase 2 has you go to the Project Orion Proving Grounds where the super soldiers train. Here you have to fight the Orion Phase 2 super soldier. He's just a slightly beefed up version of the Phase 1s. This isn't much of a raise in difficulty as the combat arena is larger and there are brawlers you can release that will fight the Phase 2. As I fought the Phase 2, if I got to low health, I would consume a soldier or one of the brawlers if it was also at low health. A slight issue arose though when I did the latter. One of the brawlers always gives an upgrade and I accidentally consumed that one. This doesn't count however, as I did not use my upgrade claws and immediately relocked them. After consuming the Phase 2, I did have to use a Devastator, so there will be 1 point added to the counter. Then, after refilling my mass bar, I had to take out a couple of Phase 1s and brawlers, but I just let them take each other out before finishing them off. Coming up is a fun mission, because it has my favorite enemy type. Natural selection starts off fairly simple. The first objective is to destroy 2 choppers, which I did with rockets. Then, it's destroying 2 APCs to flesh out the commander. This followed a very similar strategy with the addition of throwing things at the APCs and punching them. After consuming the commander, I headed to Kerning's location to consume him. Once at the base, I destroyed the fuel tanks from afar. After bringing Kerning out, there's a chopper fight. I tried to shoot rockets, but he blew them up midair, so I switched up my strategy to throwing stuff and destroyed the chopper rather quickly. Then, as I was about to consume Kerning, it's revealed he's a new type of infected. A fight with him ensues and he kills me. I then came back and beat the crap out of him because melee was the only thing that did damage. After doing some damage, he ran away, but I chased him and finished him off. This next mission isn't very noteworthy. Airbridge starts with consuming a vehicle commander to learn tank control. Once in the tank, the first thing I did was shoot some walkers, then I killed some brawlers and juggernauts. After killing all of them, Hydras show up. Their deaths take longer, but they still fall, thus ending the mission. Now on to the Whitelight. It starts with hunting Commander Gallagher, but it turns out he's an evolved. He runs away and enters a helicopter. After he gets into it, the game teaches you how to weaponize helicopters. I did so, then dropped the weapon immediately and opted to throw things to beat him. His one-on-one fight was actually kind of hard. It took me 5 attempts to beat him because I had to learn his moves and patterns. After consuming Gallagher, I got the blade power. I had to use it once for the Blade Tornado tutorial, but after that, I left and completed the mission. Next up is A Stranger Among Us. Here, you have to go undercover as part of a Blackwatch extraction team to find an evolved. As always, the first things I have to kill are a few walkers. The second wave was walkers and a brawler, but with the help of a grenade launcher, the wave wasn't that hard. Next was a Hydra, but I used a missile launcher which made the fight easy. I killed it, but it didn't go down immediately, as it still had one last attack left in its system. Another wave of walkers and brawlers show up, but they go down quickly. The next wave is tough because 2 Hydras spawn along with a brawler. After killing the 3 infected and an extra brawler, Roland can be consumed, but he knocks James unconscious when you try to. Now on to taking the castle, which is the start of the Archer arc. Nothing of note happens for most of the mission, just going from one place to another and consuming 3 dudes. The good part comes when you have to destroy tank patrols and consume Riley. I consumed in between tanks and fought the tanks with everything I had. This attempt was successful, but the game didn't feel like being nice and took it away from me because Riley decided to drown himself. The next attempt was the same, but I consumed Riley. The next mission is a Sabrina one. A nest of vipers is where Roland finally dies. It starts with a one-on-one fight against a Hydra. I opted to use rockets from nearby marines to kill the Hydra. Then I entered the lair where I had to fight and consume a Juggernaut. This took a while as the brawlers had to be taken care of first. After consuming the Juggernaut, I got the Hammer Fists and of course, I had to use them for the tutorial. Then, 2 tanks have to be destroyed to flush out Roland. After you flush him out, you have to fight him. I beat him with melee and consumed him. Consuming Roland gives you the shield spikes, which are fun to use, but they won't be seen in action here. Now for a Maze of Blood, which is the Biobomb mission. I fought a Biobomber on rooftops to evade the Hydras, but I was barely on them and mostly just moved so the Hydras didn't catch up. I successfully progressed to the second phase and then almost right after consumed him. Afterward, I went to a base where I had to use the Biobomb ability as part of the tutorial. Then I had to fight yet another Evolved, which was quick. After that, I had to fight 3 more, but these guys were also easy to take out as I just used the flying kick to damage them. Sadly, after all of this, I accidentally leveled up twice. I had not been watching my EP and reached level 3. I put both skill points into mass, which luckily doesn't do anything as I don't use mass. After that whole fiasco, it's now time for the Alpha Wolf. I stealth consumed multiple soldiers so I could use their guns to destroy the remaining soldiers and tanks from a distance. Then came the Archer fight, which was easy since by now I knew how to fight and evolved in melee with little issue. The difficulty arises when she summons her Brawler pack. I died to her first pack of 2 Brawlers. From here though, no issues arose. I even beat the 3 Brawler and 4 Brawler pack with little to no issue. Of course, at the end, Archer's consumed and I gained the Pack Leader ability. Also, pretty obvious is that I have to use Pack Leader as part of the tutorial. Now on to the worst mission of the entire run. Fall from Grace. This mission starts with fighting 3 evolved, with at least one being a bio-bomber. What's worse is that if the Whitelight tank is damaged at all, more evolved will be made. I died twice before successfully killing the main 3 evolved. My strategy for this part was to spam flying kicks as every evolved seemed to be capable of bio-bombing me, which does around a third of my health bar. This however paled in comparison to what was coming up, which was fighting a Goliath while under a time crunch. The Goliath was headed towards a giant Whitelight tank that if it reached, it would break, causing a mission fail. My first attempt didn't go that well. I got it down to 2/3 of its health, then went to heal thinking it would aggro to me, but no, it was smarter than that. It headed towards the Whitelight. I frantically tried to stop it and succeeded in doing so. I managed to almost kill it before it killed me. My second attempt was a failure because I spent too much time trying to pick up a gun that the Goliath had already entered the compound. Despite my efforts and getting it down to almost half, I still failed because I left the Goliath unattended again. Attempt number 3 was another failure due to the Goliath getting a lot of hits in on me, and the evolved preventing me from reaching the Goliath. I managed to prevent the Goliath from destroying the tank but was reckless and got myself killed afterward. On attempt number 4, I got very low once again, but I focused too much on healing myself and gave the Goliath too much of a head start, leading to it destroying the tank. Attempt number 5 went bad at first, with me losing a lot of health, and the Goliath almost destroying the tank, but I managed to prevent that. Sadly, this is where the Goliath used a move that I hadn't fully encountered, so I didn't know how to dodge it. I thought I dodged it, but I didn't and ended up dying. On attempt number 6, I tried to keep a weapon with me at all times. I almost failed twice as the Goliath was very close to the tank, but saved it both times. It hit me a lot at the end, so I had to be extra cautious so as not to die. Honestly, I'll admit that I got lucky, because it used the move that killed me last time, where it threw itself into the air, but it just so happened to land before me, and even then, I landed on a fence before landing on the ground. This caused such a delay in between landings that I didn't get hit by the Goliath. I hit the Goliath and made it consumable, but to add to the stress, some evolved came in and attacked me, but I dodged over and consumed the Goliath, barely finishing the mission. The descent is much easier in comparison to what just happened, because this is where helicopters are introduced. With that being said, using helicopters is an upgrade as the ability to pilot them is gained by consuming the pilot. The mission itself I almost completed on the first try, but then I died. This was because I wasn't used to not having the reinforced steel upgrade that increases vehicle health. On the second attempt, I killed a few infected before I finished the section. After that, I dropped off a scientist and then headed to Dana. Burn from Memory was a fairly easy mission, as I could employ my usual strategy with minimal difference in the execution success. Grab the barrels and run for the incinerator. The first 2 were easy to burn. After that, I had to kill a lot of infected, but this was also easy with the help of super soldiers. Since I didn't have powers to use, I just stayed as a pilot so the super soldiers wouldn't attack me. Then, it was just throwing 3 more barrels into the incinerator to complete the mission. Now on to Last Resort, where Firehawk is introduced. To start off, 4 fuel tanks have to be blown up. After that, the remaining soldiers have to be killed. I shot all of the soldiers, then used my strategy of throwing stuff to kill the super soldiers. After that, I had to defend Cantrell from the infected. After a stressful fight, I was able to defend Cantrell from all of the infected. The mission still didn't end there though, as now I had to fight a Whip Fist evolved. I honestly thought this would be very hard, as she has an insane range compared to me. This, however, was not the case, because as long as I was up in her face the whole time, I could dodge her attacks and hit her. I barely managed to consume her as I went into the animation right before a brawler could finish me off. The mission is yet again still not over, as I have to use the Whip Fist to destroy a helicopter. Afterward, I destroyed another 2 with flying kicks, and to finally end the mission, I longshot grabbed Cantrell with the Whip Fist. This next mission, Divine Intervention, is fun. It's boring at first as you have to chase a helicopter. When it lands though, Griffin is kidnapped by Evolved and you have to chase them. After arriving at Penn Station, the fun begins. All 3 Evolved have to die. I meleeed the first one, and after the first one died, one of the remaining 2 used Pack Leader to summon 2 brawlers. I then killed the other 2 and ignored the brawlers. Lastly, I consumed Griffin and finished off the mission. Fly in the Ointment is another Firehawk mission. This one starts with hunting a guy and consuming him. The mission is simple at first, just kill flyers, then I killed Hydras, and a Juggernaut. This happened about 3 more times before the tank arrived at the base where I had to fight a bunch of infected. I was low on health the entire time, but I still beat them all. The last part of the mission was to consume 4 commanders, which I did. With 4 missions left, it's time for Operation Firehawk. The start is simple. Destroy 3 parked thermobaric helicopters. After comes the scary part, because 5 of them are airborne. My strat was to shoot them with rockets from far away. Although they're strong, they can still die from 2 rockets. The first one died quickly, but when attacking the second one, I missed the second shot and died. As I had predicted, a single hit from the thermobarics killed me instantaneously. On the next try, all of his choppers went down. The last one was a bit scary because it was in a cramped area and I was very low on health, but it fell nonetheless. After healing up, I went to destroy the ammo depot. I played it cautiously because I didn't want to die and restart the section. This is because when the depot is destroyed, it blows up in a thermobaric explosion. I used rockets to destroy the depot and finished it off from a rooftop. Lost in the System brings back a fun enemy for the last time. You see, a Goliath makes an appearance for the second time in the game. Honestly, after the way the first one went, I thought this would be just as bad, if not worse. But then, I realized that the only reason the first encounter was that bad was due to there being a time limit. To beat it, I didn't do anything too special, just heal and attack. After killing the Goliath, 3 evolved have to die, but we've been through this dance many times already. They go down easily and the mission ends. Now it's time for Labor of Love, the second last mission. To start, the hammer fists have to be used in an attempt to break the door that doesn't even work. After a bit, a unique mission-exclusive enemy appears, the Alpha Juggernaut. It's consumed in a cutscene giving James an upgraded version of the Pack Leader ability. Instead of brawlers, Juggernauts are summoned, and also, for some reason, you can one-shot everything. I got most of the door's health down with the first pack. To get the pack back, I had to consume a Juggernaut, which took forever. Also, summoning another pack means yet another ability is used. Crappy aiming led to the second pack dying quickly, so I had to consume yet another Alpha. This third pack managed to finish off the door, letting me enter Gentech. With Labor of Love completed, there remains only one mission. But, before moving on, I retried this mission. I was unsatisfied with having to use Pack Leader 3 times. After multiple attempts, the best I could do was get it down to 2 Pack Leaders being used. Most of the damage was by the first pack, but I wasn't quick enough to prevent damage from building up and killing them. Nonetheless, I was pretty satisfied with my result and stuck with the 2 Pack Leader usage. Now on to Murder Your Maker. The first game's last mission had me cataloging each attempt and the discoveries I made in my search for the best strategy to beat the Supreme Hunter. Surely, the second game would be similar. No. The game only registers damage for Alex when it comes from powers, which I am not allowed to use. This is very anticlimactic, as I was hoping it would be an incredibly tough fight where I have to rely on chip damage, but it's not. To experiment, I summoned a bunch of stuff, but none of the infected attacked him, only Blackwatch. Even then, not even a super soldier could damage him. Also, to add further insult to injury, when changing phases there are QTEs where you use powers. To progress in one of the stages, you have to use the shield, which is another power you have to use on top of the QTE ones. I was thinking of a possible fight where only the shield is used to minimize the number of upgrades needed. This is impossible, however, as to progress stages you have to grab Alex with a power. If you try to grab him unarmed, he will grab you and punch you across the stage. Although I couldn't beat him without using upgrades, I was able to beat him with a minimum number of upgrades, which was 2. The shield was one of them, as it's mandatory, but the other one had 5 possible options. I threw 3 of them out immediately, as they are the powers he uses in his 3 phases. If you use the same power as Alex, he immediately counters you and tells you to use another one. This left me with 2 choices, claws or tendrils. As much as I like the tendrils, I feel like they're a bit iffy when it comes to their damage against Alex. Anyway, with claws and the shield, I was able to successfully kill Alex. You can now see why I didn't want to make the counter based on the number of attacks, because I'd have to count every claw strike, pounce, and shield usage. I tried it and it sucked. Welp. To answer the question of can you beat Prototype 2 without upgrades, it's a no. There are 2 things holding this run back from being a true no upgrades one. The tutorials for the powers and the final boss. Nevertheless, the minimum number of upgrades is around 11. This number varies since upgrades and abilities are more vague in this game. The ones I counted, however, were abilities found in the upgrades menu that were at least used once mandatorily. These were the 5 powers, both piloting abilities, and all 3 abilities. The more important number for this run is the number of times the no upgrades rule was broken, which was 18. These were claws, tendrils, shield, shield again, devastator, tank control, blade, hammer fist, biobomb, pack leader, helicopter control, whip fist twice, helicopter control again, hammer fist again, pack leader twice, and finally, claws and shield. I don't know if I should count the powers using the QTEs, but for this count, I'm not. My reasoning is that you're not using them, the game is. I also think the sequences would still work even if the powers were disabled, as shown when other cutscenes still worked even though my powers were locked. Additionally, since I was using the shield spikes on the shield is 2 upgrades because, well, it is. That about wraps the video up. I don't know what I will be doing next for this specific format, so feel free to give me any suggestions in the comments down below. I currently plan to finish off the series I haven't yet. I also have a couple of other series I'm thinking of doing that are more my style than previous ones that I've done. You'll understand when you see. Additionally, I have a few more challenge run ideas I want to try, but I don't think they are worth a video of this format. I plan on just uploading the full playthrough of them. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Goodbye.